Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today, or via live streaming or social media for this webinar, which is hosted by Nextime in collaboration with the U.S.-India Business Council and with support from Invest India and ICICI Bank Canada. Today's webinar is going to cover unique advantages of investing in India, the key considerations before initiating any such investments, and the regulatory reforms and incentive programs that have impacted foreign direct investment into the country. I am Mark Lessam, and I'll be your co-moderator today. Before we begin, please note that you are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions, please share them with us through the questions box on the control panel at any time during this session. We'll address these questions at the end of the webinar or in writing afterward if time runs short. I'd like to welcome my co-moderator for today's session, Sandeep Goel, who is President and CEO of ICICI Bank Canada. Thanks, Sandeep. Welcome aboard. It's also my pleasure to welcome our distinguished panel of guests for our session today. We will introduce them formally in just a few minutes. To kick off the agenda, I'd like to set the context by highlighting key features of the Indian ecosystem and then offer a brief overview of the unique position India is in today. I'll also touch on how Nextime supports this ecosystem, and then the panel discussion will follow. As a matter of formal introduction, I help lead Nextime's business development efforts in North America. I have over 30 years of operational leadership experience in a variety of functional areas, primarily in the medical device, pharma, hospital distribution industries, with companies like Medline, B. Braun, and American Hospital Supply. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and get started and explore why business leaders are thinking of investing in India or expanding into India. As the figures on the left demonstrate, it's impossible, they're the figures. It's impossible not to be impressed by India's sheer size. It firmly stands as the 5th largest and one of the fastest growing economies in the world. In all probability, India will be the 3rd largest economy in the world by the year 2030. Also, India's pool of natural resources and its geographical advantage position it favorably as a springboard into Asia. This has been amplified by the recent pandemic, as the need for geographic diversification is on the agenda in every boardroom. Additionally, the country offers a highly proficient human capital base. Its workforce of over 600 million is recognized for its skills, knowledge, and innovative approaches to doing business. Importantly, India's stable financial, judicial, and political environment provides comfort so businesses can count on both scalability and growth. It's also worth pointing out some recent investments made by US companies. In recent months, Walmart has invested over $22 billion through Flipkart and other ventures. Amazon has invested over $10 billion. Facebook has invested $6 billion, along with $750 million from Silver Lake through the GeoMart deal, which was recently valued at $65 billion. This shows India's attractiveness even during and despite the current pandemic. To encourage businesses to enter India, the government has introduced a number of financial incentives, some of which you can see here on the slide. As many of you are aware, India follows a federal structure of governance. While incentives are offered by the central government, certain states provide even broader-based incentives to businesses setting up within those states. By now, you've probably glanced at the incentives listed, here, but of particular note to those considering new investment into the country is the low 15% corporate tax rate for new manufacturing facilities. The value of this low tax rate extends beyond annual cash savings to include enhancing your global competitive market position. This is one of the most attractive investments available to today's investor. There are also tax exemptions available in certain sectors for up to 15 years. Production linked to incentives of up to 40%, CapEx subsidies, the relaxation of import duties, as well as export incentives. Select states are also working on new initiatives to promote investments in their region. For example, the state of Maharashtra has streamlined their registration timelines via a single form, bringing down the time for registration to just 30 days. These incentives can significantly ease the initial settling down phase of a business. As you could see, India is poised to become the third largest consumer market, with consumer spending expected to grow from 1.5 to nearly $6 trillion by the year 2025. In terms of purchasing power parity, by 2040, India is projected to surpass the United States and become the second largest economy. This growth is supported by a population of 1.4 billion people that are statistically younger than any other major economy. The nation has over 574 million active internet users, indicating a significant market opportunity there. In fact, India was ranked as the second largest online market worldwide in 2019, right after China. Now, when building upon the question of why India over other destinations, in addition to the already mentioned financial incentives for new investment, India respects and honors legal protection of intellectual property rights, which is critical to any innovative business. And the country has enjoyed rapid simplification and digitization of governance structures. As a result of these drivers, India has seen a steady high flow of FDI over the last decade. India has performed well in several aspects of the Global Competitiveness Index report by the World Economic Forum. And in the world's Ease of Doing Business survey, India has jumped 79 places in the last 5 years. By every measure, India is enjoying unbridled growth and is a very attractive environment for business. So let's see how Nextime fits into the equation. Nextime is an award-winning, employee-owned global business advisory organization that has been supporting foreign direct investment projects into India since the late 1990s. We understand this space well, and we've helped businesses from over 50 countries establish and expand their local presence. Our expertise is industry agnostic. We support businesses in the medical device, industrial, banking, private equity, pharmaceuticals, telecom, food processing, and aviation industries, just to name a few. Nextime has been the recipient of multiple accolades. We were honored to receive the International Accounting Bulletin for Advisory Project of the Year in both 2017 and 2019. We've also been a regular contributor to the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business survey. Additionally, we're consistently rated by Euromoney to be among the world's leading tax and transfer pricing firms. We also work closely with many leading professionals associations across the US-India corridor. Some of these distinguished partners include the US Chamber of Commerce, the US-India Business Council, represented here today by Amy Hariani, the US Commercial Service, the US-India Chamber of Commerce out of Dallas, and many more. In the United States, we're based out of Chicago, and we provide multifunctional and digital capabilities across business consulting, business services, and professional services as we assist our clients with integrated solutions to their complex challenges. Over the last 57 years, our teams have designed and specialized our service portfolio to support global businesses in their India entry and establishment journey, in their expansion strategy, business optimization, and regulatory compliances, among others. This slide here provides a snapshot of our multifunctional capabilities. So you now have an idea about Nextime, and I'd like to take a moment to introduce my co-moderator for the day. Sandeep Goel is the president and CEO of ICICI Bank Canada and is responsible for leading the growth of the bank in the Canadian marketplace. Previously, he was the CRO for the North America operations of ICICI Bank, overseeing all areas of risk management and regulatory relationships in both the United States and Canada. Before joining the bank in North America, Sandeep is a core member of the transformational risk team at ICICI Bank UK, based in London. He has also played an integral role in the bank's relationship team in India. Sandeep is currently a member of the Foreign Banks Executive Committee of the Canadian Bankers Association, and he also serves on the board of the Canada-India Business Council and the Canada-India Foundation. Sandeep, would you like to say hello?
Thank you, Mark. Thanks. A warm welcome to all the attendees. Just to introduce you all to ICICI, we have been at the forefront of offering a wide range of banking and financial solutions to corporates as well as retail, strengthening this North America to India bridge. For years, India has been a profit destination of MNCs, as I think Mark mentioned, given multiple favorable factors such as large educated talent pool, young demographics, required infrastructure, and appropriate policy support. ICICI Bank has been providing support to all growing MNCs that have set up business in India or looking to start their business in India at all stages of their business cycle. Our MNC proposition is one of the best in the industry, as the product offering allows any customization across levels based on the requirements of the company. In terms of just highlighting our MNC relationships, we have close to 500 plus MNC relationships in India, dedicated team, and presence in over 17 countries outside of India to act as a bridge. And we have the second largest treasury among banks with a market maker on CAD INR as well as USD INR swaps and options. I think it will be my pleasure now, Mark, to go inside the panel and introduce the panelists.
Please.
So we have Amy Hariani is the Vice President and Legal Policy Counsel for USIBC. Amy helps companies understand government policies and the impact of international economic laws on their business. She develops unconventional solutions to policy issues, works with the Government of India, and advises various ministries on impediments to investment and trade. Vivek Abraham is a career investment banker and currently Vice President of Invest India. Vivek co-heads Global Investor Outreach at Invest India, along with other organizational initiatives. He leads the targeting, facilitation, and handholding efforts of all investors in the Americas and Europe. Sacha Rachim is a board member and the CEO of Upgol, a leader in the global hygiene market, serving the baby diaper, adult incontinence, and feminine hygiene products. Upgol provides a comprehensive range of ultra-lightweight spun melt non-woven fabrics. Sacha joined Upgol in 2010 as Chief Financial Officer and earned the Deputy CEO position in 2014. In 2019, he was appointed as the CEO. Welcoming Kamal Tikku is the President of India and South Asia at Aptar Global. He joined Aptar Pharma India as a director in 2008, guided the pharma business to grow multifold, and was successful in spreading Aptar's footprint across India and Southeast Asia. Kamal is also an accomplished business leader who is adept in driving business transformations. Finally, Pinaki Bhattacharya is the country head for India and co-founder at AMP India. He has built the business from scratch to establish it as one of the fastest growing players and a leader in the renewable energy sector. Pinaki has over 21 years of experience in India, US, and Europe across private equity, business incubation, leadership, operating, and financing roles in the renewable energy sector. Thank you all for joining us today.
And thank you, Sandeep. I appreciate the warm introductions. Invite the panelists to go ahead and unmute themselves so that we could all hear you. And I'd like to really start with Amy. So welcome aboard, Amy. We're fresh out of the US elections, as you know, and it now appears the transition is in process. I wonder if you'd share your views regarding the impact that this might have on the overall trade and investment climate between our two countries, the US and India.
Sure. Yeah, and actually just last night, the Trump administration allowed for the transition process to go forward here. So we've seen some of the transition, and now I think we're going to see it even more quickly. I think what will become apparent quickly is that there won't be a lot of differences between the Trump administration and the Biden administration's approach to trade. And the reason for that is because everyone agrees that India is an attractive destination. There's a lot of enthusiasm by American companies to partner, to do business there, to help develop the market there, and for Indian companies to also grow here in the US and Canada and other places around the world. So the bilateral trade and commercial relationship is strong and growing. I think that if you're looking for kind of detailed differences, where you'll see it is that the Trump administration was very focused on tariffs. And so if you were importing or exporting goods, you might be looking at that type of data, which is important. I think the Biden administration is going to take a more holistic approach and not get so caught up in negotiating on tariff issues, but instead focus on the holistic relationship, strengthening the relationship, making sure that our agreements on, for example, renewable energy and climate are taken forward. And I think the biggest thing everyone ought to keep an eye on is China, because I think what will help direct both the Biden administration and perhaps, I don't want to speak for the government of India, I know we have Vivek here, but perhaps the government of India is what China does. If China joins the Trans-Pacific Partnership, for example, I think that will give the US and India a lot of pressure to do more on trade. And so we have to watch other trading partners and see how they react. But overall, I will say, the enthusiasm is strong. It was strong before, it is strong still in the Biden administration. Companies and investors, you mentioned some of the investments by Facebook and Amazon and Walmart in your opening remarks. Those will continue and I think will grow in the next 4 years.
Thank you. I mean, it sounds like independent of the political wins, the economic strength of India is what's going to push things forward. And that's encouraging. It's encouraging. And I appreciate the comments. It seems also that based on your introduction of Vivek, I'm going to go ahead and turn to Vivek and ask him the next question. Vivek, you're one of the leaders for Invest India's Global Investor Outreach Program. And you've also supported multinational companies with their India expansion plans. So given the incentives that I earlier mentioned in the presentation and India's improved ease of doing business ratings, I wonder if you'd comment on the trends that you can see related to the overall investment climate, maybe building upon Amy's comments.
Sure. No, thank you, Mark. I think that's a great question. And I think it's sort of a disruptive change for us as well. And I can sum it up all in one word, which is COVID. And COVID has really turned or accelerated a lot of trends that we were seeing a couple of years in the making into a few months. And the two broad trends that we have seen are the first, obviously, is new business opportunities, and that's been fairly commonplace across the world. But the two business opportunities, or the two sectors in which the opportunities have sort of emerged, are the sectors in which India has natural strengths in, which is technology and health. And we've seen very small opportunities which were existing earlier emerge into gigantic, huge business sectors by themselves. I think there's no better example than the PPE kit sector that has sort of developed overnight in India. From manufacturing zero kits, we've become the second largest manufacturer in the world. And now, obviously, that's something that's on top of everybody's minds, which is the vaccine. And we are going to be the manufacturer of all manner of vaccines in the country. And we see a lot of offshoots in terms of biotech and other innovative stuff that's happening around pharma and medical devices emerge around this whole trend. But the second trend, which is, I think, to my mind, is more important, is supply chain diversification. And the flag bearer of this trend is, the Apple iPhone 12. And when Jan came and COVID lockdown started appearing across the planet, the first thing that Apple came out with was they're going to have to delay the iPhone announcement in September, which is a critical date for them, just catching before the Black Friday sales or December sales, the Christmas or holiday season sales. So that sort of got them really get into gear on moving their facilities from where they were into India. And that was a decision. So like I said, this was a decision that had been in the works for several years, since 2015, 2016 even. And this one event sort of catalyzed that in a few months. And a lot of companies stood up and took notice. And I think this was one great example where industry and government were in lockstep. And we came out with incentive schemes which were very finely tuned to what industry needed. And that was encouraging a lot of companies to put down their roots in India. So just to sum up, two trends: new business opportunities and supply chain diversification.
Thank you, Vivek. I'd like to build upon that for just a second, because you talked about businesses and government being in lockstep in incentive schemes. And I mentioned about India's ease of doing business rating improving over the recent number of years. Can you comment about any particular steps the government's taking that have actually impacted that ease of doing business rating?
Oh, so it's been, I think, the underlying change that has happened in the last, I would say, 8 years or 7 years has been that the people now facing the industry or facing the investor are much more in tune with what the investor wants to achieve in India, as compared to what it used to be earlier, which was a regulator sort of a mindset. And that has led to a lot of interesting conversations across the board for the last few years. I couldn't point to one or two examples of reforms that has really brought in investment. I think if you ask any company, it would have been accumulation of a lot of these small changes, something as simple as changing the structure of a form or the way an information is gathered or the way officers resolve issues on the ground. But what we have done is we've taken each and every part of the interface that is there with the investor and literally re-looked at and re-engineered it. In a lot of places, we've started introducing technology like AI. In places like land allocation, now there's blockchain that's coming up. So there's a lot of stuff that we are open to, and we are really hearing our stakeholders and improving. So there's that, and then we've also been hearing for a long time that our tax rates were highly uncompetitive as compared to our neighbors. So we got around to doing that as well. Like you mentioned, we made it 15%. We're also tuning the indirect tax structure so that it's more competitive to make things in India rather than import fully built things. And the most important thing in the recent times is this Gordian knot of labor, so labor laws and labor regulations. And we are actually seeing a lot of states pick up this mantle and untangling that. So that's been, in fact, one state sort of reported very high levels of productivity, almost 300% time more productivity in factories and facilities after they've announced certain labor reforms. Land allocation, which was a nightmare a few years ago, that is also becoming almost like almost as easy as booking your pizza online, on a Domino's app, something like that. We've also very recently become part of a superstructure of a high-powered committee, which has become the clearing house of all important decisions related to investments. And we're seeing a fairly quick turnaround to some of these key questions that kept on being asked, but would take months to resolve because we needed to get in a lot of people in the room. So that has also sort of helped us in getting some of the investors or investments into the country that we would have lost to competition outside. So, I mean, I couldn't give you a definite answer again, Mark, but It's been an accumulation of all of these small little changes that we have done.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'd like to turn to Jahar for a second, because you did this. You now, in 2017, maybe 3 years ago, you established a presence in India. And so maybe some of the things that were mentioned were part of the reasoning, but maybe you could explain a little bit of your reasoning behind Avgal choosing India and how your experience have been in terms of setting up operations.
So Avgal is a global industrial company that specializes in hygiene. And we are, I think, long years look, after being in penetrating into China, Russia, US, we look at India as, a place that appealing to our business from, population perspective. The market is growing. We saw the demands for the hygiene product is going up and up. So in our expansion strategy, we all the time look at India as a place to be. Also, the growing rate of and economy, the growing of economy of India was appealing to us, and also the location of India. So when we realized that the doing business in India become easier and easier across the year, we decided to penetrate in. And I must say that it was a very positive experience for us when we started to build a big line in Mandidip, and it was a greenfield with all the difficulties that related to it, but we experienced a lot of help from the state government, from the local authorities, from banks, that was very collaborative to help us to penetrate in. So I think it was a good decision, and we are about to have another investments and another line by the end of 2021 in Gujarat this time, but still in a place that we think we can grow fast.
Well, that's quite an endorsement for the success. I appreciate the comments.
Yeah, Sachar, good to hear your comments. See, as a banker, we always advise clients that avoid surprises. But my next question to you would be that what turned out to be a bigger advantage than expected to you when you entered India?
Look, when we are going to a greenfield to a certain area in the world, the major issue that all the time we are checking is people, workforce. And we found out that the number of talents and the professionalism in India, this was, I think, the major benefits that we gain. We currently have 70 people that of talent people that help us to create state of the art of a plan there and exceed all our expectations. And I think this is something that each of global company that would like to go and operate in India, this is a big advantage to have people from all discipline that can support in all level and in all quality level and in all area. For us, it was a big advantage and make us all this project to be faster and beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So this is a common theme across in terms of quality of manpower, professionalism, talent, I think, and new education policy which has been launched will further the advantage of talent in India. So thanks, Sachar, for that. Coming to Kawal, like Abkol, Aptar also has invested in India. When did Aptar decide on establishing an India presence? And what were the key factors involved in deciding on having a manufacturing presence in India?
Thank you for the question, Sandeep. Good one. Let me take a back step, telling you the purpose of Aptar is to reimagine packaging solutions to improve everyday life for people everywhere. So, which means we could be far away for too long. Aptar's stated statement is that, but then we started way back in 1988 in a very small way down south in Bangalore. And since then, we've become an integral part of the packaging needs of all our major FMCG and pharma companies in India, be it global or domestic multinationals. Over the years, we've strengthened our presence by investing consistently, like what was mentioned earlier, the pharma devices manufacturing facility near Mumbai about 9 years back, and then our recent, very new facility in Hyderabad that came up beginning of this year. Coming to your question specifically, as for key factors, I think there would be three drivers and one enabler. The one driver is India being a market full of opportunities, so you can't be away from it too long. It's so crucial to be close to our customers and bring globally successful technologies to our customers here in India. Two, as was mentioned by Sachar as well, is availability of skilled workforce across the country is a great pull for anyone. Anyone who's experienced getting into India would be surprised with the quality of workforce that we have in India at the price that it comes for. And gradual evolution of India as a manufacturing destination, which wasn't known to many people earlier, but now I think it's gradually getting. I think the enabler is the government. Political stability definitely is a big plus for India, and the will to contribute to India's economic progress of successive governments. It's not one government or two. Successive governments have been contributing to economic growth for India. I think that's quite encouraging for us to be here in India.
Mm-hmm. So, Kawal, good to note actually in pharma, I interact with a lot of executives, both in US and Canada. And I've always heard the presence of India as a very strategic corridor in every part of pharma. Could be technology, could be manufacturing. There is a strategic value addition by India in every drug or pharma consumption which is happening across the world.
You know, actually, before I ask Pinaki a question, I have one more quick one for you, Kanwal. You're in Hyderabad and Mumbai now with some plants, I believe. Like Shekhar mentioned, he's expanding. Do you have any other expansion plans into India at this point?
Well, as mentioned earlier, Aptar has had a long relationship with India, and we have a deep connect. As an example, let me add that India is one of our annual destination of annual leadership training for us. Each year, we could do it in 2020. We bring a group of 10 to 15 future leaders into India for a special immersive training, primarily to ensure that they appreciate diverse culture and many ways of doing business in such a big country. For us, India is strategic for Aptar Group that way, and our past investments reflect that approach. As a nation, India is on a threshold evolving market, which is well informed, well connected, and demands global quality. This is very encouraging for Aptar as well, because we focus on designing India appropriate products, and which on one hand exceed customers' expectations, and on the other hand, our consumers' expectations. Added to that, we've been getting consistent encouragement from our customers. And I believe certainly that this augurs well for our strengthening further our connect here.
Well, we certainly look forward to that. Thank you. And I'd like to bring Pinaki into the discussion, who's been patiently waiting. Thank you. I'm sure we all would like to hear your story as well, and wonder if you can share a little bit about the AMP Energy story and the reasons behind having a presence in India.
Yeah, am I audible now?
We got you, Pinaki. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Actually, I mean, the organizers are really strict, because I switched off my video immediately. I got a call that you have to switch on the video. So really very prompt. So I might try that again. So essentially, so AMP Energy is a company that started out in Canada almost 12 years back. And then initially the markets were Canada itself, which had a solar program, and then US, and then gradually it expanded to UK. And around 2015, they wanted to go to the largest markets in the world in energy. And the largest markets in the world in energy were basically India, US, and Japan. So that's why obviously India is a key market for renewable energy. And our business is to basically deliver renewable energy to both corporate customers as well as utility customers. And we develop, own, and operate our own renewable energy plants. So basically, we own the assets. So India is one of the core markets for AMP globally. And outside of India, AMP has sort of almost financed almost $2 billion worth of power plants. And currently we also added Australia as a key market. Now let me focus on India. So in India, especially the government of India is running one of the largest renewable energy programs in the world, which is almost 175 gigawatts, which will be upscaled to almost 2 times that amount. So since I am always in touch with the colleagues in different countries, I would just say that India is perhaps the largest market if I just compare to, let's say, even Japan or Australia or even US as far as renewable energy is concerned, because the scale is huge, the growth is huge. Second is the ability to do a variety of solutions is there. For example, we can do distributed generation in India. We can do large scale utility power plants in India. We can do power plants supplying to commercial and industrial customers, like many corporate customers are in different industries today. So it just offers a huge ability to create a renewable energy business. And what we have done now in the last 4 years is that We have established our presence in 15 states in the country. We are currently having a portfolio of a gigawatt, which will deploy almost $1 billion of capital. And soon we'll be growing that to another to 2 gigawatts. We have been able to channelize investors not only from India, but from Japan, from Europe, and as well as North America. And currently, the business model, even in these unprecedented times, is very robust because it has basically shown that renewable energy is something that you can transmit without actually transporting the fuel. And especially for a country like India, where we're driven by coal and we do not have a lot of gas reserves, we have a huge amount of renewable energy potential here. And that has actually shown the utility in these times also. And especially since our business focuses also on supplying power to corporates like pharma companies, like we are supplying to Mylan Labs of US or United Technologies or Volkswagen, Skoda, a lot of the corporate customers, or even the data-driven customers like Hewlett Packard, Airtel, and now companies like Amazon and Facebook, they are also wanting to buy a lot of renewable energy. India offers the lowest cost of renewable power available. So, I mean, it's an unprecedented scale of opportunity, I would say India is for renewable energy. And it's the top 3 market in the world today. So it's left many of the developed markets far behind today. So obviously you cannot have like a company in renewable energy without India as a core market.
Yeah, I appreciate the strategic importance to AMP Energy. Maybe we'll come back in just a few minutes to the infrastructure issue. I'd like to revisit that in just a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, circling back to Amy from USIBC, we have seen such great inward investment stories into India. My question to you would be, why do you believe US-based companies consider India as an attractive investment destination? And what steps the two governments are going to undertake to boost the trade investment between US and India?
Thank you. Well, I think some of the reasons that U.S. companies find the market attractive have already been touched on by some of the companies that have actually invested. So obviously the size of the market, no one can ignore. And so companies continue to look at the size of the market. But increasingly what we're seeing with our investors is companies are investing in India not only for the Indian market, but also for the regional market. So Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, other countries around the region. And so they're really embarking upon a 2-part strategy to penetrate and work with the domestic market as well as export to other areas around the region. And it was talked about a little bit earlier, but India does offer various export incentives that make that a really attractive destination for companies that are considering that in addition. So, you know, the size of the market, the young demographic, all of the reasons that we sort of talked about continue to be the main drivers for why US companies consider India an attractive destination. In terms of the steps that the two governments are undertaking to boost trade and investment, I think, you know, the regular kind of cadence of meetings, of bilateral discussions to talk about investment barriers and then to address them and lower them is something that both governments have been committed to for a long, long time. To give you an example, in the defense sector, 15 years ago, around 2000, defense trade was zero, defense investment was zero. And now it's, Vivek might know the numbers better than me, but off the top of my head, I think it's close to 50 billion. So it's you know, rising and increasing, and you're seeing US defense companies, you know, continuing to enter the market. And similarly, I think as Indian companies mature and start to strategize and globalize in their strategy, you see them here investing in the US. And so the two-way trade has made sense. It's been sort of symbiotic in terms of its industries and growth. And I think both governments are committed to fulfilling that. By the way, not just at the national level, but at the state level too. Prior to the pandemic, you saw US governors going over to India regularly to talk about investing in their state. And similarly, I would host probably 4 or 5 chief ministers a year here in the US to get investment into India. So you're seeing it at the national and the subnational level. Everyone recognizes the importance And so they're spending, time, energy, and resources to make sure that that the barriers are as low as they can be, and to address any issues that invariably do come up from time to time.
Thanks, Amy. It's the first thing people think of, I think, is scale, size, as you mentioned, and also the labor force. And it's very interesting to hear you also comment on the global competitive positioning as related to export, because I think that does play a large part in a lot of companies' decisions. And it probably brings me to the next point. We've talked at a strategic level about why companies from various industries represented here and otherwise invest in India. But I'd like to get into the frontline operational experiences, if you all wouldn't mind commenting, and probably start with Shekhar. Abgal set up your manufacturing plant in India. And what are some of the key learning points or takeaways that you might like to share with your Indian expansion with the audience?
Thank you. Look, I think there are two major issues that I think are, I don't know if unique to India, because, when you are going to a greenfield to new country, there are, similar issues that you're facing. But I think in India, there are two major issues. One is I think that India is very cultural diversified. And it's something that needs to be taken into account, because there are nuances that when you are going to operate there, and when you are in touch with a lot of stakeholders in order to build a plant, you have to take them into consideration. And I think having a local support, a local firm or a partner that can go with you and help you with to overcome all these gaps, it's something that is critical for the success. And I think we are lucky that we are, since the beginning of the decision and the planning of going into India, we use a local partner that help us to plan the basis before we came in, and also escort us during the construction and the establishments of all this business. And I think it's also helped us a lot. This is the second thing that I think is not unique, but it's very strong in India, is the structure, the complexity that you have in all the government processes, and the structure of doing all the registrations and the legalities in India. And I think by having an experienced support within, it's ease, the penetration and the building the business in a smoother way. So these are the two issues, and the solution is one, which I recommend to every company that would like to do business in India.
Thank you, Shekhar.
Yeah, coming back to Pinaki, we would like to hear about the support you received from the government. And given your impressive growth, would you please comment on some of the main advantages and challenges you faced during this journey?
Yeah, so basically we are in a sector which you cannot do without the government. So basically there are two types of way we sell power. One is to corporate customers like industries, and the other is to utility customers. So as far as in both the cases, you need to acquire land essentially. Second is you need to get connectivity at the substations. Third, you need a customer. So on the utility side, I would say what the government has done well is that they have continued to be they have continued the auctions despite whatever is going around in the world. There is always a constant stream of gigawatt scale auctions almost every month. In fact, yesterday only there was a 1 gigawatt auction. So that is just creating business opportunities for businesses for us to sort of bid for those projects and sort of secure our order book. So that is one thing that is good that the government is doing, that they have a plan based on which they are sort of coming out with the auctions. They're also doing one thing interesting, is that they're also adopting new technologies into these auctions. That is, Earlier, it was either solar or wind. Now it is hybrid or energy storage. So it has become very innovative, and they also provide a power purchase agreement, which is bankable. Okay. So they have worked a lot on the bankability of the PPAs, the variety of the technologies that can offer a solution, and a constant visibility in terms of the PPAs. On the commercial industrial side, our customers are the corporates. Okay. There, what the government has enabled is that ability to get the connectivity, and I would say that is one thing that they have enabled. Now, these are the positive things. The third thing is obviously the financing side on the government side also, because the debt financing they have created, and also on the equity financing. So there is 100% FDI possible on the equity side. So as a result, the sector has seen a huge amount of foreign direct investments into projects in India. So that is again a government sort of has sort of created a positive environment for people to invest directly into the sector. On the banking side, definitely we have a lot of project financing available and all. Now coming to the issues. So now the issues is, one is that land. So though they have made the land acquisition easier, and they have done away with certain approvals and all, but still solar, you require huge amounts of land. Like for every 100 megawatts, you require 300 acres of land, 400 acres of land. So for, let's say, for a gigawatt, it's like 5,000 acres of land. Now, so the land acquisition on some large projects has been easier, but that is also related to the particular state. So that has been a little bit challenging, but that is where we come in by establishing a business that can do that. Okay, if everything was so easy, then there's no barrier to entry, and there's no additional delta on the returns. The second thing is on the connectivity. The government obviously is ramping up the substation capacity in terms of evacuation. That I think so is not a challenge. The third thing I would say, an issue that the government has to sort of address, is the better coordination between the state and the center. So that is something that they need to do better.
Okay, I think
the phone actually.
We'll move on. Thanks, Pinaki. I think it's great to know your first-hand experience and the great work the government is doing to maintain continuity. So I'll move to Kamal now. Given the fact that you have two manufacturing plants in India and have witnessed the way India's ease of doing business ranking has improved, do you find that there has been a substantial impact in terms of on-ground realities, Kamal?
Thank you. Interesting question. I think having been in India for more than 30 years, we probably have been one of the few companies that would have witnessed evolution of business environment in India that encourages businesses compared to pre-1990 years, for example. And that is what brings us to opening up of economy, as people would call it, economic liberalization of India, which definitely was a major step in the direction of making India part of the global economy, as we call it today. And I think successive governments have actually made efforts to encourage investments. And today, like we have KPIs, key performance indicators, foreign direct investment has become a critical KPI for each government, whether it's the state government or the central government, apart from employment generation. And that pushes lawmakers, as you were talking about ease of doing business, it pushes lawmakers to ease out on various archaic laws, for example. For example, introduction of Companies Act in 2013, changes in employment law, as one of the panelists was referring to, a lot of focus on technology of late. So online submissions, Mark was mentioning about 30-day process period in Maharashtra, for example, online tax payments, license approvals online, and the recent faceless, the concept of faceless assessment. Definitely, these steps are definitely transforming the business environment and helping with doing business here. Quite encouraging that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Kamal, for your insights.
I appreciate that. A couple of housekeeping points here. It looks like we might run just a couple of moments over, so I just want to give everybody a little bit of notice. Also, continue to submit your questions. We're weaving some audience questions into this dialogue, so please continue to do that. And it's come to my attention as well that there might have been a little technical glitch at the beginning. So we will play a little video for you just toward the end of the webinar. So be patient. You'll have the opportunity to view that again as well. With that, I'd like to look into the future and maybe start with Vivek and ask about any upcoming incentive schemes that might boost India's attractiveness or focus areas that Invest India is contributing to, or that we might expect in the near future. Vivek?
Thank you, Mark. I think that's a very important area of discussion nowadays. I mentioned this empowered group of secretaries that we had constituted about a few months ago. And one of the key focus areas has been to examine where we should be encouraging investments and where we should let investments come in on their own. And one of the decisions that they have come on to is identifying sectors where we have an advantage and where we have either a large market opportunity, and also other sectors where we want to encourage investment, which otherwise would have been difficult to attract. So in the first round, we had started with the electronic sector, and specifically within that, the mobile phone segment, the value generating parts of it, not just assembling. And then we started building on that. We went on to pharma APIs, we went on to medical devices, some select medical devices. And now we are now building on a generic framework where we can identify such focus sectors and then bring out very rapid, in very quick succession, PLIs or production linked incentives for all of these other focus sectors. So some other ones that are on the cards include advanced cell batteries, automotive components, telecom, textiles, food, solar panel modules, white goods such as fridges and ACs, and specialty steels. Now, these are, if you would see, these are very specific niche, almost at a product level incentive schemes. The idea being that we have certain requirements or certain advantages, and we want to capitalize on that. And this has come through a lot of discussion with companies on what they would exactly like to be incentivized and what they would not like to be incentivized. So there is a lot of, like I said, fine tuning that has been happening in the background through this entire empowered group. So I would expect a lot more production linked incentives, encouraging very selected few sectors, or even in some cases selected few companies to come in and plant their roots, and then encourage those companies build ecosystems around them. So, so sort of a trickle down effect that we'll be seeing in the near future.
Very nice. And I appreciate the comments that both you and Amy talked about in terms of future. I'd like to give the operations folks, Kanwal, Shahar, and Banaki, one last opportunity to talk a little bit about the future of their companies and what they'd like to see, starting with Shahar. How you've commented a little bit, maybe you can expand if you'd like, on Avgal's future in the Indian market, and what are some of the recommendations for companies that might be evaluating their long-term strategy in India? And I'll pose the same to Kanwal and Panaki. Shahar?
Okay, I will be very quick on that. I think, we see the demand is growing very fast. As Vivek said at the beginning, also COVID, with all the PPE product demands, it's creating a boom within the industry and within the market, and also the awareness of the hygiene products. So from our perspective, we see a fast growth. And as I said, we are after a board decision to invest another line in Gujarat, and it will be operated by the end of 2021. And we see we had a very positive experience, and we would like to continue with this positive experience. I think just to summarize for all other companies that would like to create an operation within India. So I think the combination of a good workforce with the government and authorities that are collaborating and willing to help external to come in and to ease their penetration into the area and the market, and take out of it the location that I think, as Amy said, it's not only for India, it's bringing you also a place that you can go very easily with all Southeast Asia countries. I think when you're combining this benefit, it's a big advantage for a global company to have a representative or operation or production if it's industrial companies in India.
Thank you, Shahar. And Pinaki, would you care to briefly comment on the future and any recommendations you might have?
Yeah, so in terms of the future, we are seeing a gradual convergence that is happening between the different technologies, that is wind, solar, and storage and all, because the aim for our company and many of the companies in the space is to provide dispatchable clean energy to the customers, which will basically be the death knell for any coal or any gas, essentially. So we are gradually moving towards that direction. Solar and wind hybridization has happened. Now storage cost is coming down. So that is something that we see in future, a convergence happening between the technologies. And the key guidance that I would like to give is that energy is a very detailed business. We need, if anybody is interested in sort of joining this massive party that is happening in this sector in India, so they have to have their feet on the ground. It is not possible to sit somewhere else and sort of take decisions and all. And things don't happen like that. Things happen at the ground level, minute by minute. So one has to have feet on the ground. Otherwise, those risks will play out and it won't happen. So one has to have feet in the ground in India to actually get access to this massive renewable energy market in the world.
And it sounds like be very flexible along the way. So, Kamal, you're gonna anchor the panel discussion, Kamal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it's so important. India, for me, still remains a land full of opportunities for business, and it's with a huge consumer base, which is the young population primarily. And I think it's too large a market to ignore for anyone. I wouldn't focus on sectors specifically, but then look at what's happening for investors. Whether you're a foreign company or an Indian company, you get similar benefits for exporting out of India, which augurs well what Emmy and Sahar were mentioning about exporting across into Southeast Asia. 100% FDI is allowed in numerous sectors. Even defense railways have been opened for FDI, for example. For us, young population, beauty sector, food sector, whatever is consumed in India is a market for us for coming in. However, I do know, and this would be music to your ears as well, Mark, and the rest of Next Time people, India does still have an elaborate exchange control regulatory regime. So I would suggest companies to get complete understanding of the landscape, and they would definitely get a bit of hand-holding where Next Time, I think, like companies like Next Time are going to help. Plus, very important is cultural stuff that Sahar was mentioning about. You need to immerse here, be partners with the locals here, and that would be key to success. I think I don't see that you always need expats in India. Locals do quite a good job, and I have example of my own facility that was started in 2011. We got a challenge to build it in 6 months, and I was told, hey guys, what we are told in India, it takes whatever an Indian commits, it takes twice the time. And he said, okay, it could be maybe a year and a half, but we were able to deliver it in 6 months. And that is a clean room for a pharma site is not easy. So I think things have improved. Things are good. Opportunity and workforce, a combination is really, really good for India.
I appreciate those comments. I think we're going to hear from Guljit in just a little bit. And I think he has some similar experience in delivering on time and on budget, and maybe even ahead of time. So anyway, this does conclude our panel discussion. And the audience, I'll ask your indulgence and indulge me just a little bit. We have a couple very quick things to finish up with, so don't leave just yet. In addition to the video, I want to introduce you to Guljit Singh. Guljit is with us as our chairperson, and he leads us into the future. And you'll forgive me for just a moment as I've seemed to have some technical issues. I'll be back with you in just a moment. Hopefully you can still see me. Anyway, Guljit's got a proven track record of delivering and sustaining progress in all geographic markets that he's ever managed in. So at Next Time, as you may have guessed by now, he's guiding the organization through our rapid growth and our future expansion plans, and he's providing leadership and guidance in our ever-evolving organization. So we're actually very privileged to have Guljit here today, and Guljit, the floor is all yours.
Hello. Mark, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, thank you. We could hear you, Guljit.
Give me a second here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, go ahead. We have you, you're audible.
So thank you, Mark. For those of you who may not know me, I'm based out of Chicago and have been here for almost half a century now. As Mark said, I've also established and built many operations, especially in the healthcare field, from the United States to Europe, to China, and India. USA's interest in India is being the largest democracy with shared values. Sometimes we forget to mention and overlook. Even though the last couple of weeks in US, though I must admit, have been a bit uncertain and dicey, but millions were relieved by some of the announcement in the last 2 days, and it appears we will have now some sort of a peaceful transfer of power over here. We are also learning with this event the fragility of democracy. Leaving the political situation aside, USA's recent defense and other strategic agreements are a testament to the same. With that said, in the interest of time, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone, to our listeners from across the world, without whom we don't exist, to our guest, Amy, joining us from Washington, D.C., to Vivek, joining us from New Delhi, to Sachar, joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel, to Kanwal from Bangalore, India, and to Pinaki also. So as you can see, we have a global panelist today. Further, I would like to thank the US-India Business Council, India Invest, and ICICI Bank Canada for their support throughout this event. To Sandeep Goyal for being an excellent co-host. And above all, thank you to the entire team at Next Time who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this an impactful session for everyone. Won't take everyone's name in the interest of time. I just want to let you all know that I'm aware of your names and your efforts are being recognized. Hope everyone found this session to be fruitful. And thank you, Mark, for leading this. And with this, back to you now.
Thank you, Guljit. And I also would like to thank everybody who participated today. We invite all of you to connect with us for a discussion about how Next Time can work hand in hand with you and your organization. I'm going to give my colleagues about 10 seconds here to put up the video. And if you're able to do that, that would be terrific. And then I'll close. If the video doesn't play, I will just close.
In the current global business scenario, organizations need to continuously explore opportunities to improve operational efficiencies and drive growth through innovation. But in order to achieve that, you need to streamline the diverse work streams of your organization while driving sustainable growth. And executing this plan calls for a team that is both experienced and qualified. This is where Next Time comes in. We are a global, independent, privately held, and employee-owned business and professional services firm. Be it continuous performance improvement, ongoing support, or strategic initiatives and special projects, we can support and help bridge the gap between strategy and success. Our dedicated teams specialize in business services and professional services and act as a catalyst across all the verticals. We have been around for more than 55 years, working with diverse companies ranging from multinational corporations to growing enterprises. Our offices are located around the world for global readiness to serve clients and support organizations into the next paradigm of business. To learn more, write to thinknext@nextime.com.
Thank you. I would like to say that you'd be able to see that streaming on Netflix, but I'm not sure it's going to be there. Anyway, we appreciate that. So if you have any questions that we were unable to address during today's session, please feel free to reach out to us at thinknext@nextime.com. You'll get the personal attention from which we're widely known, and I think you'll appreciate that. Across the globe, we do think next at Nextime, and we invite you all to do the same. Again, thank you to everybody. We welcome your feedback on today's presentation. Be vigilant, stay safe. Thank you and goodbye.